I appreciate everybody who comes in and uh, takes a listen to this sort of new setup. There he is.
Yes,
There's Tom
yes,
Reynolds. How are you,
we're
Tom?
trying to do it correctly.
Yeah, I think we'll do it. We'll do just fine. So basically, the format is we're going to go through some news stories with all of you. We'll talk about some things. Tom and I'll hash it out, and certainly, Tom's. Correct me if I'm wrong, but can folks come in to the chat and make comments?
They can leave comments on the stream as we go live for hashtag FY Live. They can leave messages on the YouTube channel and let us know what they think as we go on.
Fantastic. Great.
Yep.
So everybody's got your marching orders. If you want to chime in with your thoughts, certainly we'll pick them up later if we don't see them during the live chat. But hashtag FYI Live, um, and tell us what you think. And if there are stories that you want us to cover, please let us know. So let's start right out of the box with a couple of stories here that Thomas chose for us this evening. And as I'm sure that as we go forward, we'll both contribute to stories that we want to cover. So the first one is out of Breitbart, that great right wing rag. I have to watch myself. So Breitbart has a headline that says poll. Majority say Joe Biden should step down if gas prices skyrocket to $8. Now, I have not heard that gas prices might double from what they are right now. That seems awfully high, but maybe they set that bar just so they could have this very sensational headline. What do you think, Thomas?
I think you're right. I think they're clickbaiting us
Yeah.
into because I don't think American people are that stupid. I'm just going to say it. But I don't think they're that stupid.
Right. So, and right out of the box, they start with most Americans believe President Joe Biden should step down if gas prices continue to skyrocket, hitting $8 per gallon. I thought it was interesting that, and then they asked this in the survey, do you think overall 58.6% believe Biden should step down in that scenario, while 36.2% disagree. Interestingly, of course, Breitbart will pull out of this. 62.5% of Democrats do
Yes.
not believe Biden should step down for mishandling U.S. energy production, even if gas prices climb to $8 a gallon. So that was the gotcha moment, right? That's what they
Yep.
wanted. That's the 1-2 punch that they wanted in this story. And it's so gratuitous, Thomas, that they want to dredge the Democrats through the sludge here.
Well, we talked about this morning on the Nosy Liberal, Jim and I in the chat on YouTube. Uh, they're so overreaching at this point that it's ridiculous. Even the average person who doesn't pay attention to politics and just steps in and out once in a while, will see this poll and say, "Are you kidding me? Really? This is your headline?
Yeah.
It's something out of Mad comic book." That this is ridiculous. It's actually pathetic that Breitbart would stoop this low. But again, look who we're talking about. It's Breitbart, and they got to have that narrative. And the whole narrative for this is American energy independence. If we just
Right.
had that Keystone pipeline and that good Canadian oil pumping through
Right. And
America.
I read something. You're right. Like, that's the only thing that would
Yes.
make America energy independent. I read something. I don't know if it was this morning or yesterday, and I can't cite the article. I'll probably have to pull it up and maybe drop it in the comments later. That even now, the United States is a top energy producer with natural
Mhm.
gas. And there's a
Yes.
lot of markets around the world that are buying this natural gas.
Yeah.
So, to say that we are
Be
not,
sorry to interrupt you, Lou, but we'd be giving it,
yeah,
let's be honest about it, we'd be giving it to Europe right now if we had a way to transport it. That's literally what's keeping us from giving them all this natural gas. It's the transportation issue of a safe way to transport the natural gas to the European countries who are trying to get off Russia's teeth, if you will.
yeah. It's just interesting that the spin that organizations like Breitbart will put on this, right? So they go to the worst case scenario. They say $8 a gallon, right?
Yes.
The national
Yes.
average is standing at 4.24 right now,
Yes.
so $8 is a stretch, right? Highest gas
Well,
price average in the nation.
Unless you're in California, it's close.
Right,
They're at
right,
they're at
$6.
6.25 in California. So,
Right.
that's like the curve in the test, or the numbers get a little skewed, or
Yeah, yeah,
you
absolutely
know?
right. So if you're going to take national average, right, you have to almost take California out of the mix
Yeah.
because it's skewing the numbers. But I love how they put in, and this is, of course, 81.8% of Republicans and 67.1% of independents believe that Biden should step down if gas does reach $8 a
They
gallon.
want
Of course they
they're
are.
gonna accept, and remember this, they're not gonna accept Kamala Harris as president of the United States. They're gonna beat her up as much as they do Biden. I mean, they already call her the cackling queen, you know? So they're gonna just keep on that, diminishing her stature and her, ability to lead. Uh, so it's not like they want Donald Trump back. Let's just be honest. They want Trump back. That's where they're, or Ron DeSantis, which is equally bad.
Yeah. And who knows, right? At this point, what anything could happen, right?
Yeah.
At this point, we're still a little bit early in the game. We're halfway to 2024, almost,
I know.
almost.
Almost.
Um,
We haven't
so
even done the
I
midterms yet.
I
Nancy
don't
Pelosi was
know.
talking Nancy Pelosi was talking about she thinks we're going to pick up seats, not lose seats. She's trying to
Mm,
say we're 10 to 15 seats we're going to pick up. Now, I've had some fever dreams about my life being wonderful, but that would be just astonishing if that were to
mhm.
actually come true. 10 to 15 seats picking up and not getting a
Yeah,
shellacking? Are you kidding me? Come on. Maybe 2 seats, maybe 3, but 10 to 15? She needs to put down the ice cream and go to a safe space.
yeah, indeed. Um, and if you look at these numbers, it certainly can't happen, right?
Yeah.
These numbers are ugly. Um, and 62.5% of Democrats do not believe Biden should step down, but that still leaves
Mhm.
37.5% of Democrats that do, right? Or have no opinion. So to think that you're a shoe in for all these
Yes.
seats in the midterm election is not, it's not realistic.
Yes. I am curious, does it say in there, I know it probably does. Does it say who took the poll? I am curious as to who did the polling
Uh,
for this travesty.
Let me scan this really quickly here because I have it in
Like,
front of
usually
me.
it does,
It,
unless it's one of those like Trafalgar right wing, um
yeah, yeah, it's
you
a
know,
Trafalgar Group.
of
Trafalgar.
course. Of course. Like I nailed it on the first guess. Trafalgar.
Yep.
What a
Yeah.
shock.
So, yep. So we know, who they were targeting
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
for this survey, right? And they got the answers that they wanted.
Yeah, of course. Like most polls, where they will go and do exactly what they set out to do to get the narrative they want, to be able to get the headline for Breitbart, and what will happen though is this will seep in the next couple of days into the narrative of all the other media sources like OANN and Newsmax and all the other ones because it trickles down.
Yep.
It's like the QAnon conspiracy theory, where it was once
Mhm.
at this point, and now it's, oh my God, Joe Biden is, 25th Amendment on Tucker Carlson's show last night. Come on, you
That's what
know,
I saw. I
give me a
saw
break.
that too. So the survey was taken March 18th through the 21st of this
Mhm.
year. So just last week, and it was 1,000. Let's see, 1,075 likely general election voters with a
Likely,
2.99%. Like, yeah,
oh,
likely
yeah,
general election.
that I don't even trust. One is likely, and two, it's general election. I mean, how skewed can you get? Let,
Right.
let's just do a Jesse Waters man on the street thing for Pete's sake. I mean, that's,
Right.
oh my God, that's sad. That really is sad.
And 1,075 responses. Um, is that representative of
No,
330 some odd million people?
no, no, no,
You know,
no, no. That's
not
representative
that those 330.
of the congressmen in Congress who want Joe Biden impeached.
Right. Right. So, ridiculous story and headline out of Breitbart, but thank you for bringing this to our attention, Thomas. It's just, you know,
I
just
live to serve.
majority say
Yeah,
Biden should step down.
and I didn't even look at it except for the headline. I was like, "Oh, we gotta do this story."
Yeah,
Because our good friend Tara
yeah,
Devlin hates polls, or is not a fan. Let me rephrase that. She is not a fan of polls, because she doesn't think you get an accurate picture of what people really think, and you can skew everything the way you want, to
right,
get what you want and what you're looking at. And I love doing polls only because it's like I want to gauge how stupid the question is that they're asking the American people to get the narrative they want to get. Like this question
yep,
is completely this is a completely imbecilic discussion. $8 a gallon gas, and they're going to accept Kamala Harris as president of the United States. Who are you kidding? Who are you kidding?
right, right. We're not even, it doesn't reach that far in, right,
Yeah.
to Harris taking over. It's really, really, really ridiculous. Um, take
Total
the
fantasy.
$8 gasoline out of the mix and just say the likelihood of the president stepping down. Oh, you know what? That's a bridge too far.
Yeah.
Too much at
Yeah.
the gas pump. I got to step down. Come
Yeah.
on,
Yeah.
that'll
Yeah.
never
The
happen.
cackling queen.
Ever.
We can't have the cackling queen there, with that
That's right.
pejorative. You know. I mean,
Yeah.
and that's all they got on her too. It's been this long. That's all they got. The cackling queen. I mean, how Cruella de Vil of them.
Yeah. It's interesting that they are reserving their fire or their majority of their fire for President Biden.
Yeah,
It's
and
interesting.
let's not forget that laptop and Hunter Biden, because
That's right.
that's full steam ahead. That is
That's right.
going through the tunnel, man. That's ramrodding right through. I can't wait to.
That's right.
I I cannot wait to those investigations if the Democratic Party loses the House and the Republicans get in there. Matt Gaetz up there. What did you know and when did you know it?
I,
Oh Lord, he actually interrupted. I don't know if you saw this. It was too long for us to do. But there's a video out there, a 6-minute long video of Matt Gaetz interrupting a security talk to interject about Hunter Biden's laptop. I mean, that's how in they are to this fever dream. It's crazy.
I thought he was keeping a low profile because of his, his own misdeeds.
Well,
But I guess not.
he could have been with Representative Cawthorn and all those orgies. You never know. I mean,
That's right.
That's a whole nother weirdo thing going on in Washington these days.
Yeah, we didn't take that story to run, but that's okay.
No, I'm saving that for tomorrow. We're gonna go. I got some good video that I gotta pull up if I can get away with running it, because I've gotten content dinged for content violations through YouTube. If I do something from Twitter that is too far right, some right winger inevitably dings me on content. Like, if I just do Fox News or Newsmax or, OANN, pass. Straight pass. But if I do like Steve Bannon and a clip of Steve Bannon, content violation. Slapped right on. So I gotta be careful.
Yeah, you better watch out. They're gunning for you.
Yeah,
Should we move on?
Well, let's move on.
Let's move on. So the next story comes. What's that?
That your face is priceless, though, Lou. That bemused eye. Really?
Yeah. Yep. The next story comes to us from rawstory.com, talking about PPP funds. So their headline by Timothy Evans, and this is published today, biggest fraud in a generation. Justice Department says $80 billion with a B in PPP funds stolen. Now, I don't know if anybody is surprised by this. So I was kind of surprised that this, you wanted to cover this, Thomas, because maybe because of the number that they came up with, but there was no doubt that there was fraud and a misappropriation over the last 2 years, right?
No, there was no doubt, but it was the number. It was the fact that the Republicans always like to talk about race, waste, fraud, and abuse, Lou, and it's like, okay, we're gonna talk about it. And apparently, Bisky is in the chat room. Hi, Bisky, in the Twitch chat room. Hopefully, not a Russian troll. So we've gotten Russian trolls, so there's that.
Awesome.
But that being said, the number is big. The fact that this happened initially under Trump's watch makes it big, because this is waste, fraud, and abuse under his watch, not Joe Biden's watch, because that's when the majority of the money was given out. And it shows that, at least with the Democratic Party, we're trying to track it and figure out where the hell the money's going. I don't think you'd have that type of oversight with the Republicans.
Yeah, so it does address that in the article, Thomas, too. It says that it was stood up really for, for expediting it. They were more interested in speed than they were in accuracy. And I get that too. That's not I don't know if that was necessarily a misstep, but one of the things that that they said was that the way that it was structured, it made them ripe for plunder. That's what the article says here. And I think that when you stand something up this massive, this huge, so quickly, to get the money to people right away, I'm going to say that was a good thing. And the fact that we're sort of honing it or did hone it last year under President Biden's watch, made sense to look at it and see, can we do something better? Is there a way that we can stop uh, this massive amount of fraud? I didn't realize that it was 800 billion.
Yeah,
But there was
that's
something
that's
interesting
a
in
lot of money.
this article too. It's a lot of money. They were saying also in this article that, which I found weird,
Mhm.
that because of lax oversight, fraudsters used PPP money to buy mansions, luxury automobiles, private jet flights, and expensive vacations. Most of the losses are considered unrecoverable, but mansions? You are buying a mansion.
You gotta have good digs, man. You got you if you're gonna live it up large. I mean, that's the only thing I
Who
can imagine.
who had
Not
the
us, clearly.
cojones to take that much money in fraud? Like it, that boggles my mind that someone, it looks like someone's, because
Yes,
fraudsters, uh,
yes.
bought mansions, luxury automobiles. I could see that. Maybe a jet flight, expensive vacation. I get that. A mansion?
I
What?
totally dude, there was so much money floating around that I remember the stories about how people were cheating the unemployment system, and I struggled to get unemployment when I got on it and was lucky enough to get it, and I was one of the lucky ones who actually got through the system. You
Right.
know? And it was easier than most. Um, so this is the and I mean, there was this YouTube video that I saw a while back about just the unemployment portion of it, that people were money mules to Nigeria and distant countries abroad because they could pay people as a job to do the fraud in the United States and still make a profit off of the scam. So mansions does not surprise me at all, Lou. When you got freaking money mules over unemployment checks, mansions to and we're not even talking about the PPP.
Right. So 10% of the 800 billion
Hmm.
is fraud. So 80 billion. That's a huge number. What it doesn't say is how many folks they suspect, and it doesn't say like frauded the
Yeah.
system, and it doesn't say how many people actually received PPP. And I don't know if that's confidential information, but it does end up saying that so far across the country, only 178 folks have been convicted so far in PPP cases, fraud cases. Many more prosecutions are coming, but even if the number reaches 2,000 or
Mhm.
20,000, it will only be a small fraction of the fraud.
Well,
That is,
and that's
it's
the
mind-boggling.
well, that's exactly it. When you have and I'm almost glad this happened, and here's why. Um, it shows that business people, a large majority of them apparently, are crooks and are more than happy to take the taxpayer money when it's given away freely. And they're not helping their business. They're not doing what the money was intended for. It's tax free. Let me go buy me a mansion, and let me go buy me a fancy new Rolex watch, and let me go do this, that, and the other thing. And this is what the rich do on a regular basis, and why we need to have a like we did this morning is have a discussion about, I don't know, taxing the rich and maybe getting some of our money back in that manner, because I'm sure some of these people that got that excuse me, I'm sure some of these people that did these things already knew how to game the system. They were not new to this.
Right, and that would be an interesting aspect to dig into those 178 folks who already have been convicted of fraud to see what
Yep.
methods they used.
Yep.
Um, did they basically come out of the private sector, private businesses that you mentioned? Was there any fraud? I'm sure there was, but what was the significance of fraud
Hmm.
by regular Joes, employees, right? That maybe sat back and collected a check, but to the tune of 80 billion. I'm going to lean in the direction that you're sort of going in, that these are people who knew what they were doing, they knew how to manipulate paperwork, and did this through businesses, sadly.
And not for nothing, the banks helped too. The banks made windfall cash profits helping push these PPP loans through. So if they didn't know, you got a helping regulatory hand and a push along the way by the mega banks, who all had something to gain with these PPP loans. And don't tell me they didn't, because you got overdraft fees, you got interest fees, you got all kinds of fees in banking, and hell, I'm sure there were probably activation fees for the loans, and you name the fee. I'm sure it was there. So I'm sure it goes a lot. I'd almost hazard guess that the fraud is a lot deeper than $800 billion. I think it's a drop in the bucket. I think we're just getting the bare minimum because somebody is being smart enough to say, let's take a look at how this panned out.
Yeah, definitely. And just to not to put a too fine a point on it, but it says the Biden administration imposed new verification rules last year that administration officials say appear to have made a difference in curbing fraud, but they acknowledge that programs in 2020 sacrificed security for speed. And again, I get it. That there were people who they needed the help or they were going to be homeless. They needed the help or they were going to
Oh,
go
yeah, no
hungry.
doubt.
So and I don't think anybody's blaming the administration at the time
No, I'm not.
for
I was
setting
just
it up
look.
for
I
speed.
thought this was one of the. Lou, I
Yep.
thought this was one of their finer moments
Yep.
handling COVID. I thought that dealing with the PPP and actually coming up with a program. I thought, frankly, it should have been a nationalized program that you could that it just continued. You know, for new businesses and startups and continuing businesses to help bolster the economy. But I'm sorry, just like everything, we learn, oh my gosh, we need some regulatory measures here. Otherwise, somebody is going to be doing dirty tricks.
Yep. And certainly, to your point, $80 billion probably a drop in the bucket uh,
Mhm.
to what was. I want to know who bought a mansion. Like I want
Oh,
that
it wasn't
story.
me. It wasn't me, but if I could tell the story, I totally would, man. I'd totally cash in on that one. Just saying. I'm
So they
tired of being
didn't do it well, right? Because they got caught. But
yeah.
but I would just want to know, like, who are you, man? You stepped up and went, you know what? Here's my paperwork, and you
Yep,
got a big old lump check and got yourself a mansion. What?
yep,
I
yep.
got to hear that story.
That has to be one hell of a Steven Spielberg movie coming up,
Man,
you know?
that's crazy.
It
The sad part about it, Thomas, is
mm,
that real people had to suffer
yeah,
because
no,
that person took that
Well,
money, right?
it's like this. I've always said I've tried to get Social Security for my back and some health issues that I have. And I've struggled getting it. And I had heart failure 3 years ago, and they still wouldn't put me on Social Security. If I were running things, I would say, "Here it is. If we find out that you're lying and gaining the system, then we take it away." See, this whole wait and wait and wait and wait and wait, and then the one lump chunk, that only makes the lawyers and everybody else involved get rich, and that poor person waiting and suffering until they actually see a check doesn't get the full lump sum that they should. If the government were just like this PPP thing and was like, here's the money, like what they do, I don't know, like with the military. The military says, Lou, I want $50 billion. We got to go defeat China. They're our greatest threat. Lou, you say, here's $50 billion. Have a nice day. You don't say, are you going to spend it on a golden toilet going to the moon for the Space Force? You don't ask those questions. You say, you're going to fight China. They got the biggest racket out there, the military industrial. And look at all the money they're making now because of the Ukraine war, the Ukraine crisis that's happening. And they just got, they were, we had the, this morning, the Joint Chiefs saying, well, this is how we can manage effectively into the next fiscal year, and we'll be responsible with your money. And all I can think is, yeah, right. Yeah, right. That's getting flushed down the toilet. That's big government as its worst.
Yeah, I find it interesting, and this is a conversation for another day. I find some of the announcements out of the current administration to be quite interesting, because it's atypical
Hmm.
to hear that a Democratic administration is spending money on military. Uh, it's it's really uh, unheard of to hear the rhetoric that's coming from President Biden in
Hmm.
regards to Russia
I'm a Biden
and
fan.
Putin. So it's very interesting.
I no, you're right, and I thought he was right on what he said, but he needed to qualify it morally, and he didn't do that. So everybody jumped on it, and then they walked it back, and they qualified it, and then he. So now they're making a stink out of it. But go ahead. I'm sorry I interrupted.
No, no, that you chimed in right at the right moment.
Yeah. So I mean, it's like, and I've turned into a Biden supporter, which you know very well that I was not when this started, but I think he's made
Yeah.
a lot of I think he's made a lot of good left turns. I just wish he would use his bulldozer and bulldoze Joe Manchin out of the way. That would be nice. I would totally be digging that. Mr. Clean Coal himself.
Yeah, it's interesting that the president has such a low approval rating. It's really it's unfortunate, and I think that a lot of folks are dismissing him out of hand. Rather,
Yeah.
they're not looking at specifics. They're not looking at um, the details, and the devil's always in the details.
Mhm.
And they're just going, "Oh, Biden bad," right?
Yep.
And arguably, you know, people did that with Trump until then they found out that they were right. But
Yeah.
be that as it may, so that's a conversation for another day. You want to move
Well,
on?
no, but Lou, it falls into this because with the PPP thing, you can make a direct correlation that Biden comes in and steps in, and it's always a Democratic president who steps in and says, "Oh, look, here's a problem. What do I have to do? Fix it." You know, you could trace that line all the way down to FDR, and even Bill Clinton, love him or hate him, Mr. Blue Stain himself, um, which is ironic considering the shirt I'm wearing today. But even he just did some good things. I mean, NAFTA at the time was a good idea for global trade. It was just done imbecilically. It was too many giveaways for the corporate class as opposed to the helping out the unions, which I think was the intention. Or at least I'd like to think.
It's been a long time since I read Bill Clinton's book, years, in fact. But I did read his memoir, and it was interesting to hear about specifics of some things, and then you read about other things that he glossed over,
Hmm.
uh, and other people have had a front row seat to that, and you go, oh man, that was a tremendous blunder on his part.
Yeah.
We but that's I get it. I hear what you're saying.
You know, I, I,
um
I
and
just,
and
I
and
just think
having
the
the
ratio. I just think the ratio for Democratic presidents fixing problems and Republican presidents completely dismantling government is like that gas poll that we did. You know,
right.
I mean, all the Republicans are in one corner, all the Democratic people are in the other corner, and yeah, that's where we are.
Unfortunately, that is where we are. All right, what do you say? Move on.
Where do you want to go? Yeah, move on. Let's
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 rock and roll.
yeah, let's go to the Hill. And another story from this morning by John Krusell, or John Krizel. Uh, Ocasio Cortez to Clarence Thomas: resign or face impeachment. Um, so the main crux of this story, uh, I mean, she says there's you know a pattern of ethical breaches, and that he should resign. Failure to disclose income from right wing organizations. I think that the main story here is recuse himself from matters involving his wife.
Yes.
That whole story
Yeah.
that popped up last week was bonkers.
Yeah, and and even breaking before we went on the air, uh, they're asking her to voluntarily testify to the January 6th committee. Whether or not she's going to actually do it, that's a whole nother ball of wax. But I mean, at this point, I mean, they talk about Hunter Biden compromising Joe Biden with the laptop. Um, I think when your wife is texting the chief of staff, was it Meadows,
Yeah.
and talking about we need to save this country, I think you're pretty compromised, dude. And Josh Hawley was on Fox News today throwing in, well, you're being misogynistic to say that Clarence Thomas controls Jeannie Thomas like that. And all I could think of, isn't that how they do that in the Republican marriages? I mean, isn't that what they do?
It's it, uh, uh,
I mean, am I wrong? I mean,
I I guess the information when it leaked about her texting Meadows, and the content of it,
yes.
the content of it um, was extremely disturbing to read. And uh, in this article, Ocasio Cortez says uh, that he should recuse himself from matters involving his wife, and his vote to block the January 6th commission from key information must be investigated and can serve as grounds for impeachment. That's
I agree.
what
I agree.
that's uh,
Or one, as Donald Trump would say.
right. And who knows if he shares the same beliefs as
Oh,
his
come
wife.
on. Lou, come on. The only difference between him and Jeannie
Oop.
Thomas is he likes to diddle like extracurricularly. I mean, that's really the difference between Clarence Thomas and Jeannie Thomas. They're happy bedfellows in this. You can't. I'm sorry. I'm not going to let you do that to give him that much of a pass because that's being way too nice. Because he just sits there and every ruling sides on the far right and doesn't ever come down with the Democratic side, the liberal side. When have you ever seen a Clarence Thomas ruling side with the Democratic side? I think maybe I can name one if I'm being kind. And I can't like fathom those two not being in cahoots together. I mean, I wasn't he on the Heritage Foundation list to be Supreme Court justice for George H.W. Bush in the first place?
I don't know how unnatural. I don't know how unnatural that is for a think tank for one side or the other to have a list of folks that they would like to see or
Sure.
likely because they're advisory think tanks, right? Um,
Yeah,
but I, I, I'm
you're trying to
hesitant.
be nice. You're trying to be nice, Lou.
I'm trying to be very nice here because it is possible to have people who are married to
Oh
have
yeah, yeah.
opposing views, or
What
maybe not at.
uh
Hmm?
what's his face on MSNBC? The bald guy. I can't remember his name.
James
Oh my
Carville.
god. Thank you, James Carville. He and his Mary Tom. What is it, Tomlin? Am I getting it right? Those two, completely opposite, and yet they found love. Awesome. I'm just saying I couldn't do it. And being a former conservative too. No, 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 no. Deal breaker. Deal breaker.
I just, this isn't another one of those situations of where you could say, what did he know and when did he know it? Right?
Yeah,
Did he
yes.
know that she was texting uh, the White House chief of staff? Did he know, likely, I'll say, that she was part of the group that thought that Trump was ordained by God to be uh, the
I'm gonna go with
president?
probably on that one. I'm gonna go with a
I,
low likely.
I'll say likely, but you know, how many yes dears? Yes, dear.
No, true,
The-
true,
the-
true.
you know what I mean? Like
See your
I'm
point.
hesitant to throw him under the bus. Um,
Oh, I'm
so income
totally
from right wing
ready.
organizations, huh?
I'm totally ready to throw him under that bus. Okay, and in fact, I'll drive the bus.
That's fine. That's
Uh,
fine. It's concerning that that he had this vote to block the information, key information to the January
yeah,
6th commission, and then these things surface about his wife. That's no bueno, right? That's no good.
yeah, no,
So
yeah. But
yeah,
look, Lou, this is how these people operate, though. They act as if they have no skeletons in the closet, and then open the crack of the door just a little bit, and here comes a Madison Cawthorn orgy falling out, and
yeah.
everything else to go with it. I mean, this is the Republican Party.
I
I
don't
mean,
know if it
I've
rises.
been here forever, but I don't know. I don't. I know you're not naive, but this is how like they are. Like, and take it from somebody who was one, self-hating conservative all the way. You know, whatever you can do to get ahead, they're gonna do it. And the only thing that I think I'll agree with you about Clarence Thomas is I think he's just quiet about it.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I don't know if it rises to the level of impeachment. Certainly, uh, recusing himself. I don't know if there's such a thing as censure of a Supreme Court justice, but
That's a good question.
there are measures I think that would be, I think, reasonable in this particular case. Impeachment, I don't know. It sounds too harsh, but then again, that's where we are. To your point earlier,
Mhm.
where we are so divided, so polarized that
Yep.
immediately we're pointing the finger. You need to be impeached. You need
Yep.
to be removed from office. Like, come on, man. Like,
Yep. But,
stop with the.
but again, I don't believe I don't fault the I do not fault the Democrats on this. If I could play it and I knew you'd hear it, I would play the video I had earlier of Stu Peters talking about how the Democratic Party wants to drive away the Christian white male. And you have a Republican congressman, Peter Sessions, agreeing with him and saying, I have no doubt they're doing that. In fact, yes, they are. And this guy was deleted and canceled by Spotify. Not for nothing. Having a
It's
sitting Republican congressman on his show saying that the Democratic Party, I don't know a single Democrat who wants to run off a white Christian person. And if anything, I know most want to be left alone because they might get a door knock, for Pete's sake.
Yeah, it's fear mongering. It's sensationalism. Uh,
Yes,
all of the above. It's to get the base riled up, and
yes,
it's a page right out of the Donald Trump playbook. So
yep,
now you see House members, you see senators on the right who are using that playbook. Man, they are bringing it
mhm,
out and they are rattling the cage of
mhm.
the rabid followers out there that arguably know very little about the real world.
I mean,
Uh,
that's how you get the Trafalgar poll, Lou. I mean, going back to that poll, how stupid are these people? Well, I'm not trying to throw an insult around, but if the shoe fits, walk around in it for me.
right, where are your toes?
Jesus. Oh,
Uh, all right, should we move on to our last story of the night?
yes, let's do our last story. And
So,
this has been a nice hour. Been relaxing, got a little conversation, and I hope I didn't come across
yeah,
too like a hole to you. I was not trying to be the the mean dem, you know?
you were trying to be the Dan Aykroyd to my Jane Curtin.
Yes, yes, yes. You know?
But
I
we can't say that here.
no, we can't. No, we can't. But
Um,
just
no,
visualize
no,
it.
no, no. Indeed, you know what story I'm referencing. Anyway,
Yes,
so I'm
yes,
having a hard time pulling this story up here.
surely.
However, basically the gist is this. So the Russian, and this is also from Raw Story, I believe.
Yes.
Am I mistaken? Yeah. So
No,
there is a Russian independent newspaper that was actually printing or publishing um, criticism of Putin and his actions in Ukraine. And they are now officially they're shut down, right?
yep, yep. The Nobel Peace Prize winner who actually ran the paper. I know this because I was up all night and I watched France 24 when I'm up all night. And they ran this story a couple of times, but the France 24 reporter said that the guy who ran the paper, who was a Nobel Peace Prize winner, basically sold his award to charity to help the Ukrainian people in the process. And they kept getting dinged. Like they got dinged by the government as a foreign actor twice in a row in a week. It's like YouTube comes along and smacks you on the wrist. Well, this is a lot harder because
Yeah.
you might actually end up getting poisoned. Um, because we know how the Russians are when it comes to that. And I don't mean the Russian people, I mean the Russians that run with Vladimir Putin, that are his
Right.
the people, those folks, those yikes. They
Yeah.
thoughts and prayers.
So a Novaya Gazeta. Novaya
Yes.
Gazeta is the paper, and they said that they suspended publication until the end of Moscow's military action in Ukraine. So the last place that you could get some information about
Mhm.
what might really be happening
Yep.
is now shut down in Russia. So yeah,
That to me is unbelievable. That there here is a country that started out after the fall of the Berlin Wall and the collapse of communism, started out so promising, and then just took this long, drudgy, difficult path to totalitarianism. And here we are, the last bastion of freedom in Russia, gone. And not for nothing, Aaron Rupar, who we get a lot of clips from for the morning show and this show, is a reporter. And Eric Snowden used to tweet every day. He's in Russia. Not a peep. Not
interesting.
silence. Silence. And frankly, I'm worried for his safety. I'm not exactly an Eric Snowden fan, but I am sick. I am worried for his safety.
It's interesting that I remember what you're talking about. Like there was promise for Russia after, the fall of the Soviet Union.
Mhm,
And I remember when Putin first came to power, the concern for the West was here's
mhm,
this former KGB agent. Here is a guy who is born and bred in the old guard of
mhm,
the Soviet Union. And for the most part, can we say, he has been incrementally expanding his influence and
mhm.
his power um, to almost make that prophecy come true, right? The
Yeah.
folks that were saying, "Well, watch out when
Yep.
Putin's in now. Watch out, these things are going to happen." And when they didn't, I think people started to back off and go, "Well, he's shady, but we just got to keep an eye on him." And
Yeah.
now we see full blown what he always had, I'm sure, in his mind uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
for
And
this.
I don't buy I don't buy this. Sorry to interrupt, but I don't buy this whole nonsensical argument that he's dying of cancer or something's wrong. I
Yeah,
think he's just an evil. I think he's just an evil guy I think he just is a dastardly dude and is going to do whatever it takes to get what he wants. And he believes, rightly or wrongly, and obviously wrongly, that he's denazifying Ukraine when Ukraine is ran by a Jew. I mean, what? I mean,
Mhm.
so I just this whole narrative that they've pushed and tried to push is just sad, and it's a horrible commentary on where we're at. And I'll tell you, it scares the bejesus out of me if Trump gets back in office. It just, oh my God. I don't know where things will go from there, because he was talking about bombing the S out of Putin with MiG-25s that painted the Chinese flag on them a few weeks back. This guy,
Mm.
like, they couldn't tell an American-made plane because
Right.
of a flag. Like, that's gonna fool them. See, we fooled you. I mean, come on. And this guy
It's
passed an
it's
IQ test.
it's definitely scary to think that he could be ramping up for another run. Um,
And the
yeah,
number 2 pick, your Ron DeSantis, is not much better, by the way. He's just a smart version of Donald Trump.
yeah. I think, and but he will use the Trump base, and he will
Yes.
be successful. He will be successful with it. A lot of people have seen what DeSantis has done in the last 2 years. You
Mhm.
can talk about COVID. You can talk about schools. You can talk about everything that he's done. Um, and he's been bouncing around the state down here. I don't know how much you see of him in the news, but I will tell you,
Unfortunately, too
he
much.
he makes his press briefings everywhere he goes. Make
Mhm.
sure that they are covered by the press
Of course he does.
everywhere he goes in this
He's
state.
he's I can't say the word. I wanna say the word, but I'm not going to. I'm gonna censor myself,
Yeah,
and on that
let's get off of DeSantis and say I think that somebody needs to go over and slap Putin in the face.
amen. On that note, we're out of here. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Lou, I'll lower the music. Say goodbye, Lou.
Goodbye, Lou.
Have a great, safe night, and thanks for joining us live on FYNation.com.